Beto O'Rourke has made it official this morning with an announcement on Twitter. The former Texas congressman is the latest Democrat to jump into the presidential race. O'Rourke is in Iowa today to kick off his campaign. CBS's Wendy Gillette has more on O'Rourke.
Happy to share with you that I'm running to serve you as the next president of the United States of America.
Former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke is joining a crowded field seeking the Democratic nomination for president in 2020.
This is going to be a positive campaign that seeks to bring out the very best from every single one of us, that seeks to unite a very divided country.
O'Rourke has been toying with the idea since narrowly losing his 2018 Senate race to Republican incumbent Ted Cruz. O'Rourke's ability to bring out new voters was credited for helping flip 12 House seats in Texas from Republican to Democrat, a trend he and the party hope to continue in 2020.
I believe in you. I believe in Texas. I believe in this country.
O'Rourke has also demonstrated he can get along just fine with the other side, taking to social media to document his 1,600-mile road trip with Texas Republican Congressman Will Hurd in 2017.
On the road again.
At this month's South by Southwest conference in Austin, O'Rourke talked about the pressures of Capitol Hill.
So the motives were, noble perhaps. We need to be in power so we can help the American people. But in order to do that, we're going to compromise ourselves.
The El Paso native has been a vocal critic of President Trump's border wall.
All of us, wherever you live, can acknowledge that if immigration is a problem, it's the best possible problem for this country to have.
There are more than a dozen candidates who are running for the Democratic ticket. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
Wendy, thanks. Now we have CBS 11 political reporter Jack Fink on the phone. And Jack, probably not the best kept secret in the world. I mean, he was doing interviews with Oprah. He was in Iowa campaigning. What are your thoughts on O'Rourke jumping into this pretty crowded field of Democrats running in 2020?
Good morning, Russ. Well, as you said, this has definitely been the worst kept political secret out there. No big surprise at all. I think he's doing it now timing-wise because everybody's waiting to see if the former Vice President Joe Biden is going to get into the race. That may happen soon enough. And once that were to happen, if it does, I think then everybody goes towards Biden. He gets all the coverage. He's been the front runner in all the polls. So I think O'Rourke definitely had to jump in now. A lot of other people, obviously, like you said, are already in the race. And the pressure is going to be on for him to start raising a lot of money. And that's where a lot of people are going to focus on next. Can he raise the money that he raised in the Senate race?
Sure, and you mentioned Joe Biden. Of course, he could announce here at any time. It's kind of hinted that he may here in the next couple of weeks. So Biden's been around for a long time. Beto is kind of seen as a relative newcomer on the national stage. So how does a guy like Beto O'Rourke stack up against a guy like Joe Biden?
Well, it's the same thing that all these candidates are going to have to go up against if the former vice president gets in. He's been there. He's been a sitting vice president for 8 years. He's been a senator for decades. He had been serving. So all these candidates are really going to have to go up against that. But what I think O'Rourke brings to the table is the fact of his youth, his charisma. He's very good on the campaign trail. He excites a lot of people. He generates a lot of buzz. And the question I think the Democrats are going to have to answer, are two things. First, who do they want to represent them? Who do they believe will beat Donald Trump in 2020? A lot of people seem to think that it's Joe Biden. But the one thing, again, I go back to with O'Rourke is that he's able to generate a lot of buzz. I think people are going to think that, God, he got so close to beating and unseating Senator Cruz in Texas that I think people are going to give him a good look. But at the end of the day, you have to, the debates are going to start in June, and those are not easy. And the one thing that you're going to have to worry about is the media is a lot more intensive when you run for president than it is for Senate. So this is going to be a tough road for all these candidates, O'Rourke included. And so this is at the very beginning stages. There's a lot to go through.
Yeah, and it's certainly one thing to run against a Republican. It's kind of easier to go against someone who's of an opposition party. When you're in a crowded field and they're all of the same party, it's a little more difficult. So how do you think he can go about separating himself from the rest of the pack?
Well, that's really the $64,000 question, isn't it? I think, again, the pressure is people are going to look to see if he can raise money very quickly. The other thing is Bernie Sanders is still very popular. If you look at the polls, you know, Joe Biden is still top of the polls. But if you take Biden out, Bernie Sanders is still very popular. And Beto O'Rourke has a lot of work to do because he's fallen in the polls. So I think it's going to come down to raising money. I think it's going to come down to generating buzz. I think it's going to come down to him presenting his ideas, giving people specifics, and that charisma, and see if people are going to really rally around him outside of Texas. Sure, people know him here, but how is he going to play in Iowa? How is he going to play in New Hampshire? And if you look at California Senator Kamala Harris, she's had a very smooth rollout. Bernie Sanders is still up there. I think that, you know, this is really going to be his chance now to shine, and whether he does it or not, we'll see. It's a long process.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how it all plays out. Jack Fink on the phone for us this morning, commenting and giving some context to the announcement that Beto O'Rourke is running for president. Jack, thank you so much.